In the beginning, before time was counted, before stars danced across the heavens or oceans kissed the land, there was only God eternal, unchanging and full of power. And then, from the silent void, he spoke. The voice of God thundered across the abyss. Let there be light, and at once the universe answered. Radiant light burst into being, sweeping away the darkness that had cloaked all. God saw the light was good, and he separated it from the darkness. He called the light day, and the darkness he named night. Evening fell, and morning came. The first day had dawned. On the second day, God looked upon the formless waters that covered all things. With a word, he commanded, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters to separate the waters from the waters." And so it was. A great expanse stretched across the vastness, dividing the waters below from the waters above. God named this expanse sky. The heavens were born, and the second day was complete. Then came the third day. God summoned the waters beneath the sky, and they hurried together, exposing dry ground. The dry land he called earth, and the gathered waters he named seas. God saw that it was good. Then he spoke again, and the earth stirred with life. Grass pushed through the soil, trees unfurled their leaves, and plants of every kind began to grow each, with seeds bearing its own kind. Flowers colored the earth, and fruit swelled upon the branches. Life took its first breath upon the land, and God saw that it was good. On the fourth day, the light of day and the shadows of night awaited their guardians. So God created two great light, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to govern the night. He also made the stars, scattering them across the sky like diamonds upon velvet. These heavenly lights would mark sacred times, days, and years. They would guide travelers and whisper to poets. God placed them in the sky to shine upon the earth, and he saw that it was good. The fifth day began with a breath, a whisper across the waters. God spoke, and the seas surged with life. Great whales and swift fish filled the oceans, darting through waves and dancing in currents. Then the sky opened, and birds soared above, their wings glinting in the sunlight. They filled the air with song, their nests with eggs, their spirits with flight. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters and the skies." And it was so. Then came the sixth day, the day of wonder. God turned to the land and called forth living creatures, cattle to graze the meadows, wild beasts to roam the forests, and creeping things to scurry upon the ground. Every creature, large and small, leaped into existence. The earth trembled with their footsteps and echoed with their voices. God saw that it was good, but his creation was not yet complete. There remained one final act, one breath yet to be given. God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them rule over the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the cattle, and every creature upon the earth." So God fashioned man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath, and man became a living being. He was called Adam. God created man in his own image, male and female he created them. He blessed them and said, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over all living things." Then he planted a garden in a place called Eden, paradise filled with beauty and abundance. In its center stood the tree of life, and beside it the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Rivers flowed through the garden, and fruit hung heavy on the trees. Birds sang in its branches, and beasts lay peacefully beneath the shade. God placed Adam in this garden to tend it and guard it. From Adam's side, he fashioned a woman, Eve, to be his companion, equal and beloved. And when Adam saw her, he rejoiced, saying, "This is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh." Together, they walked in harmony with all creation, and God walked among them in the cool of the day. As the sixth day came to an end, God looked upon all he had made. From the light that crowned the heavens to the man and woman who bore his image, everything was exceedingly good. On the seventh day, God rested not because he was weary, but to bless and sanctify the day as holy. He ceased from all his work and enjoyed the beauty of creation. Thus, the heavens and the earth were completed, and time itself began its rhythm. In Eden, the garden God had prepared with such tender wisdom, every need was met. The air was sweet with the fragrance of flowers, the streams crystal clear, and the fruits plentiful. Adam and Eve lived without shame, without fear, without sorrow. Theirs was a life of innocence and harmony, surrounded by the music of nature and the peace of God's presence. God gave them one command, simple and clear. You may eat from every tree in the garden, except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. It was not a cruel restriction, but a test of trust, a boundary that acknowledged their freedom and the sacredness of obedience. Adam named the animals, each one according to its kind. The lion with its majestic mane, the fox with cunning eyes, the eagle that soared above the cloud-saw came to Adam, who called them by name. He ruled not with force, but with care and understanding, as a steward beneath the Creator's will. In the garden, there was no sickness, no decay, no pain. The sun warmed the earth gently by day, and the stars kept watch by night. The man and the woman walked together, hand in hand, their hearts free and their souls alight with joy. They spoke with God as a child speaks with a loving father. There was no veil, no distance, only communion. But even in this paradise, a shadow lingered. Among the creatures of the field was one more cunning than the rest, the serpent. It watched with eyes full of ancient knowledge and waited with a patience born of envy. For the serpent had once walked among the stars, but had fallen through pride, cast down from heaven's heights. Now it sought to undo what God had made good. One day, while Eve walked alone near the center of the garden, her steps brought her to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The serpent, coiled among its branches, spoke not with snarls or fangs, but with charm and curiosity. Did God really say, "You must not eat from any tree in the garden"? Eve, startled yet intrigued, answered, "We may eat from the trees in the garden, but God said, 'You must not eat from the tree in the center, nor touch it, or you will die.'" The serpent's voice turned soft, almost gentle. "You will not surely die. God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." Eve looked at the fruit. It was beautiful, its skin smooth and glowing with temptation. Her heart beat faster. It seemed so harmless, so full of promise. She reached out, plucked it from the branch, and took a bite. Its taste was rich, but within it stirred a bitter flood of understanding. She handed the fruit to Adam, who stood silently nearby. He too ate, and then their eyes were opened. They looked at each other and saw what they had never seen before: nakedness, vulnerability, shame. In haste, they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings. The innocence of Eden was shattered in a single moment. That evening, as the wind stirred the trees, they heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden. But instead of running to him in joy, they hid among the trees. God called out, "Adam, where are you?" Adam replied, trembling, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked. So I hid." God's voice was gentle yet sorrowful. "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" Adam shifted the blame. "The woman you put here with me, she gave me the fruit, and I ate it." Eve, too, tried to deflect. "The serpent deceived me, and I ate." God spoke to each of them and to the serpent. To the serpent, he declared a curse. "Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust all your days. And I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." To Eve, God said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. To Adam, he spoke with gravity, because you listened to your wife and ate from the tree. The ground is cursed because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat from it all your life. Thorns and thistles it will produce for you. By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground. From dust you came, and to dust you shall return. Then, in a gesture of compassion, even in judgment, God made garments of skin for Adam and Eve and clothed them. He looked upon them with sorrow and mercy. They could no longer remain in Eden, for if they ate from the tree of life now, they would live forever in their broken state. So God banished them from the garden. He placed cherubim and a flaming sword flashing back and forth to guard the way to the tree of life. And thus began the journey of humanity's outside paradise, but not abandoned. Though the gates of Eden were shut, the promise of redemption had already been spoken. One day, a seed would come, born of woman, who would undo the serpent's deceit and open the way back to eternal life. Though Adam and Eve were driven from the garden, God's presence never fully left them. Even in exile, He watched over them. The pain of their disobedience weighed heavily on them, but life went on. Eve bore a son and named him Cain, saying, with the help of the Lord, "I have brought forth a man." Later, she gave birth to another son, Abel. Cain became a farmer, working the cursed ground with calloused hands. Abel chose the life of a shepherd, tending flocks and walking with quiet reverence. In time, each brought an offering to the Lord. Cain offered fruits of the soil, and Abel offered the firstborn of his flock, the finest he had. God looked with favor upon Abel's offering, for it was given in faith and sincerity. But Cain's offering was not accepted, for it came from pride rather than devotion. Cain's face darkened with jealousy, his heart filled with rage. God spoke to him, warning, "Why are you angry? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it." But Cain did not listen. One day, while they were in the field, he turned on his brother and killed him. The earth drank Abel's blood, and silence fell. God called to Cain, "Where is your brother, Abel?" Cain replied coldly, "I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper?" God's voice thundered with grief, "What have you done? Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood." Cain pleaded for mercy, for he knew that his punishment would make him a restless wanderer, and that others might kill him. So God marked Cain, not to curse him further, but to protect him from death by human hands. And Cain went out from the Lord's presence, settling in the land of Nod, east of Eden. Even then, life continued. Adam and Eve bore more children. Generations passed. Men began to multiply upon the earth, building cities, forging tools, raising families. But as their numbers grew, so too did their wickedness. Hearts turned away from God. Violence filled the land. What began with a single act of disobedience had become a flood of evil. God looked upon the earth, and his heart was deeply grieved. He saw that every inclination of the human heart was only evil all the time. Yet, among the people of that darkened world, one man stood out, Noah, a righteous man, blameless among his generation. He walked faithfully with God. And God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence. I will destroy them, both people and the earth. But you, Noah, build an ark of gopher wood, make rooms in it, and cover it with pitch inside and out. I will bring flood waters to destroy all life under the heavens. But I will establish my covenant with you. Noah obeyed. He built the ark, long and tall and wide, as God had commanded. He brought into it animals of every kind, 2 of each, male and female, as well as his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. The rains came, and the fountains of the deep burst forth. The waters rose and covered the mountains. All living things outside the ark perished. But God remembered Noah. After 40 days and 40 nights, the rain stopped. The ark floated on the waters, and in time they began to recede. When the dove returned with an olive leaf in its beak, Noah knew the earth was drying. So he stepped out into a cleansed world, and the first thing he did was build an altar. He offered sacrifices to God in thanksgiving. God was pleased and made a promise. Never again will I curse the ground because of man. Even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. And God set a rainbow in the clouds as a sign of this covenant, a reminder of mercy after judgment, hope after despair. Though mankind would stumble again and again, though the story of rebellion and grace would repeat across centuries, God's desire remained unchanged, to draw his children back to himself, to restore what was lost in Eden. And from that moment forward, the story continued, written in the lives of prophets and kings, in the cries of the oppressed and the songs of the faithful. It would one day lead to a child born in a manger, to a cross upon a hill, and to an empty tomb that shattered death's grip. But it all began with a word. Let there be light. And from that light, the world began to turn, and the story of humanity was born.